Hey guys, it's me Merv. It's been a while. Sorry for not uploading out of the blue. I got really busy with work and other personal stuff. And I also just couldn't find the motivation to start making videos again. But I also didn't want to completely abandon this channel. I just needed a simple enough video idea to get me back into the groove. So for this video, I will be recapping my experience as a contender for Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds Championships. Very late, but whatever. So registration for this event began back around September. You were required to have a partner since this was going to be a team-based tournament. I didn't really care about making it far into the tournament at first, but what really interested me were the prizes for just showing up and participating. For the low price of $20 for your whole team, I was guaranteed my own shirt, a tote bag, a plushie, and some in-game items just for playing Monster Hunter, which is crazy in my opinion. That's just amazing value for the experience. I did need a partner, so I asked one of my good friends to join me. He was already going to attend TwitchCon that day, so the timing was perfect. And also he's like the best Monster Hunter player I know, so that was a good bonus as well. Registering was pretty easy. What took me the most time was the team name. I knew I wanted it to be a pun or something related to Monster Hunter. It just took me so long to think of a name that I got timed out of the registration page and had to input all my information again. I finally settled on the Sentai Rafa Rangers. Originally supposed to be Super Sentai Rafa Rangers, but it didn't fit. And so we were registered. We had our team name. Now we just had to simply practice for the event, which we barely did. So the tournament consisted of 2 rounds. The first round was the Arena Quest, Ignition to the Top, Kill a Funny Little Chicken. The top 6 teams with the fastest times would move on to the finals, where each team would compete for the fastest completion time in the Mark of a True King event quest. So me and my partner didn't really take the competition as seriously as other competitors at first. At least I didn't really care too much about perfecting every move, memorizing attack patterns. I just wanted to have a good time and meet other hunters. I was already satisfied with the participation rewards. Both of us were also able to manage A-rank times in the Chemitress quest on our own. So by that logic, placing us in the same hunt should guarantee an even lower A-rank time. So we really only practiced the Chemitress quest here and there. Usually after I came home from work, we'd maybe run the quest at most 3-4 times before I got too tired to continue. Somehow all the times we were able to get some practice in, it'd be right after I had the busiest days at work, so my focus was down the drain. And the controller. So I am a mouse and keyboard player primarily when it comes to Monster Hunter Wilds. I know how to play Monster Hunter using controller. I used to play Worlds on controller. It's just not my current main way to play Monster Hunter. And with a controller, I'm the most comfortable with an Xbox controller. But for this competition, they set up the game on PlayStation 5s. And I don't own a PlayStation 5, nor have I ever used a DualSense controller, so it was gonna be a new experience in a way. Next was deciding on our weapon composition. Our choices were the Balahara Lance, Yunkaku Greatsword set, the Nersilla Longsword, Yunkaku Light Bowgun set, or the Yunkaku Dual Blades with the Boof Buna Bow. Now, because I was going to use a controller, I didn't want to use a mechanically complex weapon, so I immediately ruled out the Longsword and the Dual Blades. I could have practiced enough to have been comfortable on either, but I was also really wanting to play Greatsword the most out of all those weapons. Another reason why I decided on Greatsword was because it would have went so hard with the Longsword. You got a sleepy Longsword, you got big damage number Greatsword, that'll have even more opportunities to charge without getting tail whipped. And my partner is like the Longsword guy in my group. Like, y'all ever associate a weapon with a specific friend? Yeah, when I think of Longsword, I think of him. So we decided that I would play Greatsword and he plays Lance. So yeah, before I caught wind of the Monster Hunter Championships, I actually took a big break from Monster Hunter in general. I'd just been so busy with work, and I also wanted to play other games. In that period I was gone, he pretty much dropped Longsword and was only playing Lance. I don't remember his exact reason why. I think it's just because Lance is just a much more interesting weapon compared to Longsword. But I don't know. In the end, we just went with the weapons we were vibing with the most at the time. So you can tell from the lack of practice, the little thought going into weapon composition and viability, me being uncomfortable on controller, that our chances of making it past the first round were pretty slim. We were also pretty overconfident. When we did practice, we were consistently getting A-rank times for the quest. Our best time together was 2:18. We just could not get any faster than 2:18. So we were like, alright, let's just try to get around the same time during the competition. It's a pretty fast time, so we should be fine. So the competition was held at the Marriott Marquis next to the San Diego Convention Center in one of their ballrooms. It was also the same day as TwitchCon. The ballroom itself was closed when we got there. Instead, we were greeted by a few tables set up by the tournament staff right outside for teams to sign in. There were also a few cameramen walking around getting shots of the sign-in table and the teams that were just chilling around till the tournament started. There were a couple of really cool cosplayers. There was someone wearing Jin Dahad's armor, and there was someone with the Chadakabra armor. When we tried to sign up, just as we were about to get our tickets scanned, we were stopped by one of the camera people because they wanted to record us getting signed in. Like, they wanted to recreate the entire moment when we first walked up to the table. The camera guy told us, alright, if you guys can just stand all the way over here and walk to the table again. They also wanted us to be a lot more verbal in the interaction with the staff. Like, after they say, alright, you two are good to go, we had to be like, oh cool! We had to be all enthusiastic for what was just a simple QR code being scanned. So after that, we also picked up our name tags and wristbands, which told us which heat we belonged to. We got heat 3, so we had to wait around till the first 2 waves of players finished before we got to go in. I didn't anticipate having to wait to play, but I'm kind of glad that we got time to ourselves because I was not ready. I was sort of having last minute regrets. When I turned around to face the other teams, I saw some players getting in last minute practice on their gaming laptops. There were a few people who brought their Steam Decks and Switches, playing other games in the series. Those who weren't playing were just talking about their favorite monsters to one another. There was just an aura of competitiveness and community that made me go, shit, I should have taken this a bit more seriously. Don't get me wrong, I love Monster Hunter, and I was excited to participate in the US Championships, but I knew going in that I wasn't putting in the most effort to really show how much I cared about the series, and that we were taking the competition seriously. We barely practiced. We didn't really push ourselves to get the lowest time possible, but more so the lowest time we were satisfied with to stop our practice sessions. My motivation was pretty much at the ground going into this event, just wanting to get some sweet participation rewards, and I kept telling ourselves, like, oh yeah, this time is fine, we just have to show up. To it moving a bit up after seeing every other team being very excited, and a small part of me began to think, damn, I really want to get to the finals. So we waited around until our heat. I think it was about an hour wait before we finally got let in. The ballroom was very nicely laid out. We were first greeted by a seating area for all the teams that completed their run. On the other side were all the PlayStation 5 setups. To the right was where they were handing out the prizes, and there was also a small interview set up for teams to get a post-match interview. What grabbed our attention immediately were the TV monitors set up in the seating area, because they listed down the top 6 fastest times. First place, Hellhunters, of course, at 1:46. Seeing that time, I felt so much dread, but our focus shouldn't be on first. We just have to beat whoever is in 6th place. We just have to beat the minimum to qualify for the next round. 2:15. the best time we were able to produce from all of our practices was 2:18. We needed to shave at least 3 seconds from our personal best to make top 6. And we weren't even the last heat. Even if we made top 6, we still needed to hope that the next wave of teams don't knock us out. But that was looking too far ahead. We just needed the run to move on. So we got sat at a station, very simple setup, monitor, PlayStation 5, Razer headphones. From the looks of it, I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like we all had the same Hunter rank 100 save files set up for every station. We were allowed a minute to do control changes, button checks. We were also allowed to just boot into the quest itself to make sure our controls were up to what we wanted. I don't know if we were allowed to leave the Grand Hub for anything but the quest. I wanted to leave to head to the training area to do my button checks, and I saw that my buddy already did so, but I think one of the referees told him to head back to the hub and do controller checks in the quest itself. Weird, but maybe they just needed us to speed things up because of time constraints for the next group of players. Anyways, so after all was said and done, we signed the form confirming that our referee let us do those pregame checks. My partner put up the quest, and it was time. It was time for our run. I jumped off my sacred at the top of the cliff. I jumped off my sacred at the top of the cliff. I jumped off my sacred at the top of the cliff. I had to run to Chemitress because I jumped off my sacred at the top of the cliff. I don't know what possessed the game to halt me at the top, and when I reached the very peak of the cliff, the game had a button prompt pop up that said press circle to jump, which caught me off guard because I normally don't see this prompt. But the crazy thing was that instead of me and my sacred falling down after I pressed circle, it was just me. I've played this game so much. The sacred should jump from the cliff automatically. No, because it still lets me go. It still lets me jump. It still lets me jump even if I turn off the automatic and just go on my own. I tested this with mouse and keyboard. And controller after the tournament. The sacred jumps off without me having to push anything. I've played the game since release, and I have never had an issue with my sacred refusing to jump. And I even tested it without automatic pathing. I've tried so hard to replicate what happened that day for this video, and I actually struggled to perform the mistake. Like, I guess I was just very, very unlucky. Like, this was my punishment for not taking this tournament seriously. I was supposed to do the sneak attack. Didn't happen. Oh well. We just had to move on. My partner at least got to the Chemitress with no issues, so he started the hunt for us while I was still waddling from the other end of the arena. And the hunt was so weird. So normally, I'm so used to an aggressive Chemitress. From our practices and from my own solo attempts, the Chemitress is pretty much a punching bag for the first few bits of interaction, and then it starts fighting back pretty aggressively. I was pretty confident in recognizing its tail attacks. It is the monster's bread and butter move. So explain to me why our Chemitress just did not care about using its tail to attack us. It just kept using its beak. It just kept pecking at me as if I was a piece of corn. Like, what? When do I offset? Every time I tried to predict a tail move, it would simply turn to one of us and start pecking. It was just so unexpected, so out of character. It felt like I was playing a tutorial, which greatly contrasts the banger music that this quest is somehow blessed with. In the end, we completed the quest with a 2:36. 18 seconds longer than our personal best. It was definitely a bummer to see, but we didn't fret on it for that long. It also meant that we were out of contention for the second round with the Rathalos Arena quest, and so our US Championships run came to an end. We didn't get our participation rewards immediately after, so I mentioned earlier that there was a small interview set up. Initially, I thought that the interviews were just being reserved for the top 6, but they were actually interviewing every participating team, which got me pretty hyped. Like, we weren't able to make it past round 1, but the thought of expressing my thoughts on the matter, I thought it was cool. Like, wow, an interview just talking about one of my favorite game series and not about why I should be hired. Like, awesome. It was quite a bit of a wait. I don't remember exactly how long we waited for, but the next group of teams were able to finish before we were called up to speak, which isn't really saying much because the fourth and last heat consisted of like 2 teams. It was taking so long that the mandatory interviews became optional, and they even said that they were shortening each interview because of time constraints. So if you weren't interested in being interviewed, you could just pick up your little participation goodie bag and just go. When it was finally our turn, I was a little pumped. Never been in front of a camera for an occasion like this. Got asked the typical, how do you guys feel about your performance today? One interviewer really liked our Super Sentai reference in our team name. Then they asked us, what was your guys' first Monster Hunter game? My friend said Try. I said 4 Ultimate, which, it's technically 3 Ultimate, but I barely played 3U. I actually gave away my copy of 3U when I was a wee kid because I was really bad at the game and my small head could not comprehend its mechanics. It wasn't till 4U that I actually sat down and learned the game and looked up tutorials for the weapons and stuff. So that's why I treat 4U as my first Monster Hunter game. After the interview, we got our rewards. Like I mentioned before, it was a t-shirt, a tote bag, in-game item codes, and what I was most excited for, the Lagaiacrus plush, which is the same as the in-game DLC. And that was my experience participating in the Monster Hunter Wilds US Championships. I had a good time. It was short and sweet, but it was good enough for me. It was a lot more than I expected for 20 bucks, but I also understand why some internet comments find the event to be a bit lacking. So, a staff member working the event did reveal to us that there were supposed to be around 60 teams total competing, but only 40 showed up. So the people that should have completely filled up the 4th heat just no-showed, which definitely surprised me because of how cheap it was to participate in the event, and the prizes you get just for mashing buttons on a controller. Now, there were some things I expected that the event failed to do. First and foremost, lack of community activities and engagement. This is supposed to be the Monster Hunter US Championships, right? So why does it feel like an almost nothing sandwich in relation to the community, its fans? When all the competitors were rounded up after Heat 4 finished, the only announcement they made was who made it to the next round and what their next steps were. I understand that it's a competition, but Monster Hunter is known for its strong community that fuels the game, which then can produce these tournaments. This was my first in-person Monster Hunter event, and I just expected a bit more. I'm just spitballing ideas here, but how about doing a poll asking each competitor what their main weapon is? How about each person's favorite Wilds monster? And then we can have those totals announced at the end before everyone but the top 6 leave. In the end, that sense of community just felt forgotten. Like, alright folks, tournament's done. If you're not any of these teams, bye-bye. Go enjoy TwitchCon. Secondly, with the number of competitors dropping from the expected 60 teams, so around 120 people, to 40, 80 people, was there no possible way to change up the rules to fill in that time? Maybe dedicate that time to more than one attempt at the quest? Now, it may sound like I'm just salty for not qualifying to the second round, which isn't completely false, but really? Just one attempt? would it really hurt in time, especially with 40 people not showing up, to give the attending competitors one more attempt and just take the best time out of the 2 results? And if not a second attempt, circling back to my issue with the lack of engagement, how about use that extra time to get teams to know one another? How about a mini cosplay showcase? I only saw 2 people cosplaying, but still, those cosplays were really nice and they could use the spotlight. Or just spotlight anything about the folks there with a shared passion for the series. Lastly, decor. It was pretty bland. The main conference room where all the PS5 setups and waiting area for the competitors, it was lacking any Monster Hunter charm. I wasn't expecting to walk into the Grand Hub, but like maybe a cutout standee of a monster? A printout of a monster taped to the wall? How about a Bluetooth speaker that plays the hub music while we're just sitting around? How about anything Monster Hunter related? It's Monster Hunter. You guys have a whole blank conference room to work with. You couldn't get anything to decorate this space with? So that was the Monster Hunter Wilds US Championships. It wasn't perfect. I still had a good time, but I really hope it's better next time they do this. Maybe it won't. I mean, they're taking their sweet time with the PC optimization, and the game's been out for a bit now. If you made it to the end of this video, thanks for listening to my rambles. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.